You are ready to make a career switch and you keep sending out your resume for these new positions and you have the skills, you understand the industry, and yet you're still hearing crickets. Well, your resume probably is to blame, but no fear, we can fix it. Let's talk about the 5 resume mistakes career changers make so you can fix them and land the job. Now, if we haven't met, my name is Cassandra, and if you are in the middle of a career transition, I am here to help. I made my own transition in my career about 6, I guess the journey started 7 years ago. Grad school is involved, but I want to help you do the same. Life is too short to be stuck in a job you don't like. So let's get you somewhere you like. Now, to get that job, we need a good resume. So here's where we start. In no particular order, these are the 5 mistakes. Number 1, using jargon or verbiage that doesn't translate to the new industry, or you didn't translate it to the new industry. So for example, I worked in higher education, and in student affairs, higher ed, anytime you put on an event, we called that programming. Okay. In other industries, programming is a very different thing. And if I wanted to go into event planning or something where planning events was involved, I need to change every place where I put programmed events to planned events. Now, on the flip side, if you've planned events for work and now you want to work in higher education, you didn't plan them, you programmed them. These little nuances can really be the difference between your resume beating the ATS or not, or just being transferable and understandable to the hiring manager. So make sure you're using the language of the industry you're trying to go into. Number 2, not highlighting the skills, the hard skills of the role in your skills section. You want to make sure you are highlighting any skills of this industry everywhere possible. So especially hard skills. If you took the time to learn a certain software, to learn a certain program or language, you want to make sure it is listed in the skills section and where you've gotten a certificate and in a bullet point in your experience, if possible. You want to show that skill as many times as you can. So make sure you're really listing all of those. Sometimes people go, well, isn't it obvious that I know this skill if I'm going in this industry? Yes, but you need to let them know that you know that they know that you know. So just make sure you put all skills down. Number 3, the huge mistake I see made for career transitions and just on resumes in general, not quantifying. Oh, y'all, you've got to quantify. Use numbers on your resume. Numbers paint a picture. When you say trained new employees, okay, that's nice. When you say onboarded 20 new employees every month for 12 months, I've got a much stronger picture of what you did. So anywhere where you can add a number, be that a percentage, a volume of some sort like sales or funds raised, any sort of monetary number. If it's social media, impressions, followers, subscribers, just anything where you can add a number, quantify. It paints a much stronger picture of what you do. And in the middle of all those letters, we see a number and our eye is drawn to it because it breaks up the pattern. And we go, what's that number? Now we read your bullet point. So make sure you are quantifying. Number 4, and this one actually is the most important. I said they weren't in order, and clearly they're not, because number 4 actually is most important. Not having a summary of qualifications. Woo! If you are a career changer, we got to start with a summary of qualifications. This is where you are going to hit me with 3 to 5 bullet points of the things that make you a great fit for the position. Think of this as your highlights, as your headline to make me want to read further. If I read nothing else, though, what are the things I need to know that make you a good fit? Bullet point those for me in a summary of qualifications. Before I see your experience, your education, your skills, I need that summary. I still recommend doing that in bullet points, not a paragraph, but just the key is 3 to 5 main skills. Boom. Here's what I can do for you. Here's why I'm a good fit in bullet point form under that summary. You gotta have it if you are changing careers. Okay, and the number 5 mistake that career changers make on their resume, including everything you've done ever, All right. Your resume should not go back 20, 25 years. It should be about the last 10 to 15 years. Now, if there's something you did 15, 20 years ago at the beginning of your career that we're coming back around to, and you want them to know like, hey, I had some experience in it, you can maybe put it as a very small bullet point at the end of your experience, right? Just 1 or 2 bullet points just to say, hey, I worked in this before. I would address that more in the cover letter. You can watch my video on cover letters for career changers in the card. I'll put in the card up here. I don't know, somewhere up there. And I'll put it in the description box below. So you can address it more there of why we're coming back around. But don't think that you have to let me know absolutely everything you've done or to give me your whole career history when it doesn't have anything to do with this new career. Really focus on the last 10 years. What have you been doing? And focus on what's most transferable. So sometimes that's not just work experience, that's volunteer experience, that's education that we've been taking, certifications we've been getting. Make sure they're seeing the full picture of how you can translate those skills that you've done, that experience you've had to the new job more than, hey, look, I've worked for 20 plus years. Okay? You don't need to put everything you've done ever. Cover letters are awesome for career changers. You get to share who you are in more of a story form. Plus, you get to address why we're making the change. And you can share things that maybe aren't really featured or not featured heavily on your resume. So let's get into how to make an awesome cover letter for career changers. Whew, I have been a career changer. If you are here, you are a career changer, and I know we need some confidence. So let's talk about how to get confident about that cover letter and making the career change. Now, first, let's just go through some cover letter basics, whether a career changer or not. These are just some basics of writing a cover letter. It should be 1 page unless you're in some very specific industries, but normally it is 1 page. And you need to be looking at the job description and pulling out 2 or 3 requirements or skills that they're asking for. And then we're going to name and claim them, right? We're going to share, hey, I have that skill, and here's an example of how I've done it. The big thing is we don't just list things. I have read thousands of cover letters. And what often happens is people go, I have the skills you're looking for. I am organized. I have created presentations. I have done this. I have done that. I have done this other thing. But you're not proving any of it. So we got to name it and claim it. Here's how I can show you I have done this thing. So second thing, when you're writing a cover letter as a job seeker, yes, address the elephant in the room. I want you to explain to them why we are making this career change. Sometimes people think they can't do this. They think, oh, am I just outing myself that I'm making this big change? Maybe they won't notice it on my resume, or like, am I allowed to tell them I'm making the change? Yes. That's why the cover letter is awesome, because on the resume, it's much harder to explain, hey, I know you see a bunch of this skill or a bunch of work in this industry, and I know you're in this industry, but this is why I'm pivoting. Can't really do that on a resume. But on a cover letter, you can. Plus, oftentimes they look at your resume first and they may see that different skill set and go, wait, why are they switching to this job or industry or whatever? So then they're going to read your cover letter and get the answer. So don't beat around the bush. Explain to them why we're making this transition. So it should be done in about a sentence. This isn't your life story or the whole story of why you're making the career change. This is just a sentence. Something like, while the majority of my experience has been in the public sector, working in nonprofit youth sports, I can see how those skills will translate over well into this corporate environment. Something like that. Then you're going to explain more about what those skills are that transfer, but just a sentence saying something. If the company is more a casual company, you think this cover letter could be a bit more conversational, I would say it in a more conversational manner. I would honestly write something like, you might be wondering, why is this person who worked in television for 10 years now wanting to work in education or HR or whatever it is? Like, directly say the question you think they're asking themselves and then answer it. Here's why. Now, the next thing we want to do in the cover letter is highlight transferable skills. Yes, you're doing that on the resume, but in the cover letter, you get to put actual examples. Here's a time when I did this thing, and this is why I believe it matters to you and this position. So some basic ones to think about: communication, organization, management. There are plenty of skills that transfer over. The key is just going to be saying, I know you're looking for someone with organizational skills. I did blah, 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 blah in my last position, and I can really see how that will be an asset in this role, as I know I would be in charge of organizing, yada, yada, yada. Connect the dots one to the other. But with this, I just want to remind you one more time, in the cover letter, we are not sharing everything that's transferable, nor are we sharing every which way a skill is transferable. We can get into more of that in the interview. This is just the highlights. So we want to take that skill, give an example of how we have it, and then why or how that will help in this future job. Okay, the next thing, close the gap. So if possible, close the gap between what you did before, what you've been doing, and this new job that seems like they're far from each other and have nothing to do with each other. Close that gap by talking about the education you've gotten in between, the LinkedIn courses you've taken to level up your skills that you need for this job, the volunteer work you've done that's maybe buried at the bottom of your resume that now you can bring to the surface and go, yes, I know in my accounting job, I didn't plan events, but I'm looking at this event planner job because for the last 3 years, I volunteered at church and have put on every women's event for up to 400 people for the last 2 years in a volunteer capacity. Like, close the gap so that they see these two jobs aren't as far apart as it might look on paper. Now, I know that's not always possible, but if it is, if you have something that can demonstrate skill in the meantime or demonstrate education, put it in the cover letter. Okay, the last thing you can do in your cover letter is give the passion play. So what I mean is, a lot of times people love to put in their cover letter, oh, I'm so passionate about blah, blah, blah. You know, entry-level positions, students going in will just be like, oh, I'm so passionate about working in the automotive industry or working in finance, but then they have nothing to back it up. You are making a career change because you probably are really passionate about this thing, and there's probably a why behind it. So if there is time, give the passion, and by time I mean room on the page, give the passion play. Some ideas on how to do this, you're going to give the why behind it. What that looks like is, was this the path not taken? Have your values changed? And because your values changed, you're now looking at this type of career. Did you recognize over the last year that life's too short and you want to go for the thing you really want to do? Giving the passion play really helps people remember that you are a human being and they are a human being who make choices in life, who want to do something different, who are allowed to change their mind. I really think it's a way of bringing some humanity back to that cover letter and to remind the person, like, no, it's not crazy that I'm wanting to make this job switch. Here's my why behind it. When we understand people's why, we give a lot more credence to what they want. Now we know the background. And so it's really helpful to add in that why you're making this change in terms of passion. Now, we always want to focus positive within our application, our resume, our cover letter. So don't go negative. Don't tell me you're leaving because it's a super toxic industry. We focus on the positive of moving into the new industry. But this passion play in your cover letter is where we can get just a tiny bit vulnerable. We're going to open up and share a bit more of ourselves to remind them, again, like I said, you are a human being talking to another human being. We make life choices. We make changes. We have reasons why we're making decisions in our world, and that this isn't just, oh, I have the skills. It's, here's why I really want to do this now. Basically, this is going to show them that you're not just doing it for a paycheck or because you just really need a job. You're doing it because you see this career as a path to your future. So to recap, don't forget the basics of a cover letter and then focus on why this career change is going to be an asset to their company, because you have the skills and the passion and hopefully the education in some form to be a great employee in their company. Finding and getting a job that you enjoy, that excites you, can be a really draining process. How do you keep your motivation up? Well, it starts with your mind. So today we are going to talk about the mindset you need to have when job searching so that you can get that happy job fast. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, if you will, as the kids say, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos come out. Now, let's get on to this whole mindset thing. Job searching can be draining. I know this. I know it from experience. I have had my own job searches in the past that they're hard. And let's be honest, part of it is hard because job searching is not a team sport. You have to have discipline and motivation all on your own to keep it up and keep going to get that job you really want. So I was listening to a webinar the other day where the speaker was talking about how what we think is what we believe and what we believe is what we act on. And so that's why this all starts with what we think. We've got to change our mindset. So we're changing our beliefs to keep going and not let the job search get us down. So here are the 3 mindsets I think you need when job searching. Number 1, you have to believe that persistence pays off, because it does. You have to know that the job search takes time, but the more effort you put in, the faster it's going to pay off. So you just have to keep going. But tell yourself every day, persistence pays off. Persistence pays off. I've heard Ryan Serhant say this about real estate, that he would say, take care of the work and the work will take care of you. Now, I don't know if he's the author of that phrase or if he heard it from someone else, but that's where I heard it. And I really think that's something you need to think about in your job search. Take care of the work. This goes to something else I've talked about in other videos. The hardest part of the job search is we do not control the outcome. Oh, that part is hard. So don't focus on the outcome. Focus on the part you do control. How many applications did you send out? How many people did you ask to coffee? How many times did you follow up with someone this week? Like, focus on those pieces and just know that persistence, to keep going, to keep working at it, it's going to pay off. Sitting at home and being bummed about the search or that application that went nowhere, that's not getting you anywhere. Keep on working. Now, if we have that belief in persistence, that mindset also changes our attitude towards rejection, ghosting, not hearing back. Here's what I mean. I'm a big believer in you have to get through the no to get to the yes. The way this has worked for me in the past is with a lot of guy friends, I used to have to tell them all the time, like, ask the girl out and get the no so you move on and you find the love of your life, because they would be obsessed with one girl. They'd have this crush on one girl, but they'd be too scared to ask her out because, what if she says no? Well, what if she does say no? Great. Now you know, and you can move on and start looking for someone else. Also, what if she says yes? Cool. Now you're dating your dream girl. You've got to be willing to be out there and get ready for the rejection, because right now what's happening is you're crushing on that one girl or you're crushing on that one job, but you're too scared to apply because what if they say no? Just like you're too scared to ask that girl out because what if she says no? Well, because you're in this limbo, you're not moving forward with that girl and you're not moving on from her. You're not moving forward with that dream job, but you're not moving past it to another job. So you have to get through the no to get to the yes. I hope this makes sense. It does in my head. But being persistent makes you willing to try, to go for that next job, to apply one more time, because you know that every one of those is getting you closer to where you want to be. Now, this is a big thing in acting too. Actors have to face rejection all day long, right? And so they are taught, you are going to audition 100 times, 1,000 times and get no, 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 no. But every one of those no's is getting you closer to the yes. And so same thing. Keep applying, keep asking people to coffees, keep going to networking events, keep talking to people on LinkedIn. You have to keep going because the more you do, the more opportunity there is for someone to say yes. But sometimes you have to get through a couple no's, try a couple people to get you to the person who's going to say yes. Mindset number 2, you need to be curious. Be curious and stay open. The more open you are in your job search, the more opportunities that are going to come to you. Now, I am not saying be open to any job under the sun for all time, even if it's not something you want. No, I'm just saying sometimes we can reject things out of hand. Like someone will say, oh, you should talk to my friend. I did this in my job search. Oh, you should talk to my friend so-and-so. They might be able to help. I don't think they'll be able to help me. I don't think I should. No, I'm not going to call them. What? You don't know how they can help you. They know how they can help you. So just be open to having conversations. Be open to applying for that job that feels like a little bit of a stretch, or going to that event where you're not quite sure where, if you're going to meet somebody. Be open. In the book, Designing Your Life, they talk about how so many of us look at job searching as this problem to be solved. We have to find our life's fulfilling work. We have to find, I'm in a bad job. I need a good job. I don't have a job. I need this job. It's a problem that we're solving. And that puts a ton of pressure on it, takes all the joy out of life. And instead, we need to see it as it's not a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be on. And when you think of this whole thing as a journey, I feel like we need to be on The Bachelor right now and just take a shot on that one. If you see it as a journey and not this problem that we're solving, it just makes us a lot more open. It's a lot more open then to experiences, to meeting new people, to new opportunities that maybe weren't on our horizon, but once we hear about them, we go, maybe I would like to do that thing over there. So stay curious, stay open. Now, I would say a sub-mindset of being curious is you have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable, because growth happens at the end of our comfort, right? When we get into uncomfortable situations, that's where we grow. This means we need to be a little more open in our job search in the techniques that are being used right now. Maybe you do need to be open to a one-way recorded interview, because that's going to open the door to a company that wouldn't see you otherwise. So maybe we're open to that. Maybe we're open to starting to create a brand for ourselves on LinkedIn or on Instagram. You need to be willing to be a little uncomfortable, to try some new things so that new opportunities can come. But see it from, I don't have to be successful at this. I don't have to be perfect at it. I just am going to be curious. I'm going to try this thing, right? When you decide to go skydiving, nobody's like, oh, I have to be the perfect skydiver. You're just going, this is cool. I want to have this experience. So go into your job search with that same curiosity. Okay, I saved the hardest one for last, and I'm going to try not to cry saying this one, and I hope this is encouraging to you on the other end. You need to stay confident and positive, which, as I said at the beginning, it is not a team sport. Having that confidence and motivation and positivity on your own can be really hard. But here's what I want you to hear. You have value, okay? You have value as a human being. So much of our identity is wrapped up in what we do every day. And if you're unemployed right now, that's really hard. And if you're in a job that you feel isn't fulfilling or doesn't use your skills or is toxic in some way, it's hard to see your value. So I want you to start believing in yourself, have the mindset that you have value, and to stay positive and confident on that. Please know you are more than what you do for work, okay? I believe that God has made you and He created you, and you have intrinsic value as a human being walking on this earth. But I understand how hard it can be to see that when we are 4, 5, 6, 10 months into our job search. It can be really hard. Heck, after 2 weeks, it can be hard, right? Here are some things I would recommend to help you continuing to see your value, to keep your confidence up, and to stay positive. So when you are in a good headspace, take some notes of what you enjoy about yourself. What are you good at? What have you gotten compliments on before? What do friends and family family say you're good at. Write those things down and then save that folder. And on the hard days, go back and look at those. Think of something you have accomplished before that you are proud of. What is that moment that you go, dang, I did such a good job on that project? Or when I presented to the room, I got so much feedback after of what a great presenter I am. Like sometimes it is hard for us in the middle of our job search to remember, oh yeah, there are some things I'm really good at. I'm just not getting the opportunity to do them right now. Write those things down, read them over. If you're not sure what you're good at, if you're like, Cassandra, it is hard right now, I don't remember anything, ask friends and family. Look at your old reviews and the positive reviews, like with your manager, things like that. But ask friends and family, look at your reviews, say, what do you think I'm good at? What do you think I'm skilled at? Write those things down so that you can see them on different days and you don't have to call your family every time and go, I don't know what I'm good at. What am I good at? So those can be there for you on the days where it's really hard to remember what you've done before. It is possible again. The more you stay positive and confident in your job search, the easier the job search is going to be. Now, if you're unemployed, I actually have a whole other video of like how to thrive when unemployed and has all the other things to do that aren't job search related. So I'll put a link to that in the description box so you can read that as well, or you can watch that as well. I think it'll really help you in like keeping that positivity up. So stay positive and confident. Be curious. Remember, this is an adventure. We can have so much more fun in our job search if we would have that adventure, curiosity mindset. And then be persistent. Persistence pays off. Believe that, keep going, and the job will be there for you. I'm starting to become a big believer in affirmations because, right, what we think is what changes our beliefs and the way we act. So we need to change our thinking. I have created a new freebie for you. It is 5 affirmations for the job search. You can find that in the description box below. It'll help you. Just, I don't know about you. I like having those sorts of things to print out, put on the wall, put on the bathroom mirror, maybe write them down to go over and help stay in this mindset. And they're based off what we talked about today, but they're in an affirmation form for you. So you can grab those in the description box below. When switching careers, a big question that always comes up is, should you take a pay cut? Well, the answer is maybe. Let's talk about it. Well, really, if you take a pay cut or not can have a lot of different factors involved as to whether it's a yes or a no. But the one time I would say it is a definite no. Do not pass go. Do not collect money. All of that is if the pay is below your minimum viable income, the money you need to live every day, then no, we do not take the job. I understand this sounds obvious. I know some of you right now are like, let me go to somebody else's video. This girl's too obvious. No, we're going to get into more detailed stuff, but I have to say it because sometimes if we are in a job that is toxic, if we are miserable in a job, or if this is something that's in the industry we're dying to get into, and this feels like this is our only chance to make it, sometimes we consider things that are not going to pay us enough to live. I want you to be strong enough to go, nope, that one is way too below the means, so I cannot do it. Now, if you have never figured out what your minimum viable income is, figure it out. What is the bare minimum you need to live? Not what is it you need to live to get a Starbucks 3 times a week and go out to dinner with friends. I'm talking about what will give you basic food, shelter, and heat, right? So figure that out and know it cannot go below this number. If it's below this number, we just say no. Just say no. Like dare. Is that a reference only people in their 30s plus will get? I'm just curious. Now, on the flip side, the good news is right now, so many companies are hiring. So many people are looking, have left jobs. There's so many openings that to make these positions enticing, employers are really raising salaries, right? They're raising those starting salaries, adding bonuses, etc. And so the odds of you needing to take a pay cut when switching are less than normal, I would say, if you're watching this video in real time. Your odds right now of needing to take the pay cut to get ahead, not really a thing you have to worry about as much. But there are some times when a pay cut may be a part of the deal. Some people believe that the only way to be successful is to continually be on a trajectory of going up. I mean, we literally call it your career ladder, right? It's on my logo. It's this ladder, but you probably have seen the meme, just like I have, that talks about success, right? And we think it looks like this, but it looks like this, right? So just know, sometimes we have to go down a little bit to come back up. Maybe we don't have to go down, but we go across. So if you want to make a career change, you may need to, for a time, take a pay cut if there's more opportunity in the future. If we want to get to a job where we feel fulfilled, that means things might get a little messy for a while. Things might get a little jumbled, and we may need to, again, for a time, take a pay cut so that we can get where we want to go and get those bigger jumps and raises in the future. I don't know about you, but I've been in jobs where, like, great, the starting was fine, but then there were no pay raises along the way. Whereas if there was a company over here that, yeah, I might dip down for a second, and then there's a lot more opportunity after. In fact, I took a job where I took actually like probably a 15% pay cut because it would give me experiences I hadn't been able to get. And I knew it would be for a year. And then part of the deal was, hey, during that year, you can kind of explore the areas that you like. And at the end, we'll help you get into the specific area you want. So while I had to change some things for a while, it was going to lead to a much bigger payoff down the road. So the slight pay cut was worth it, and also to be in something I thought would make me happier than where I was in that moment. Another reason you might take a cut is because you'll get an experience that you know you can't get without taking that cut. Sometimes we do want to go into jobs where we know they're not going to look at us at a certain level if we don't have this lower level experience. So I once took a contract position with a cut compared to my normal salary because it was going to give me time in a department at a really reputable company that I knew I wouldn't get any other way, and I knew would be really beneficial towards what I wanted to do in the future. And so I knew the name recognition and the experiences would be worth the cut in the meantime to get me further along, build some reputation, build some credibility down the road. The other reason you may want to explore having to take a pay cut, and I think this is a really big one right now, it's why there is the Great Resignation and the Great Reshuffle, is quality of life. Sometimes we're willing to take a cut in pay to have more freedom or to be able to have our nights and weekends open again instead of working constantly or being in a super high stress job. I saw a news story where a woman went from doing some pretty high tech work to becoming a vet assistant, and she makes less, and she said she actually kind of works more hours, but she loves what she does so much more. Her life feels more relaxed. It's not as stressful. She likes being with the animals, that it was worth it to her. So sometimes that quality of life trade-off, that freedom, that mental and emotional, fulfillment, I guess, like less anxiety, it's worth it. And if you are changing careers, sometimes you have to take what's called a bridge job. So this hopefully won't be a pay cut, but it might be similar pay to what you're making now, but in a company that you want to switch careers into, do other things, work for them down the road in a different department. So you take a job similar to what you're doing now, but in the place you really want to be so that you can start to get to know the people there, move into, get to know the departments you'd like to work in, and move into those roles down the road. So should you take a pay cut? Well, I hope you don't have to. Right now, it seems, unless it's very specific scenarios, that you hopefully won't need to, but it is something to keep in mind. If you haven't considered it, if you haven't figured out where it's worth it and where it's not for you, you could end up going for the wrong thing, or you could be saying no to something that actually could be really beneficial if you're willing to take that cut for just a little while. So keep it in mind. Think through what's your minimum viable income. Think about when it's worth it and not worth it to you. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit to think about in making that decision. So that is it for today. If this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I have tons, like over 200, maybe over 300 videos on career advice for you. So go check some others out. I've got some suggestions here and here. That's it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.